So to really go from forest to the house would have required quite a large amount of people with all different skills and technologies and resources. So you really start off with the tree. I'm sure a lot of timbers here were locally sourced, maybe even from the estate. So you have somebody that needs to chop down the tree, in this case with an axe, which would be quite a lot of work. Then take all the branches off to actually make the actual center tree trunk. And then it would need to be converted into planks. That would have been done by a sawyer. Again, it's a fairly specialist skill which requires a specialist frame saw and a lot of elbow grease because this would have been all done manually. And after that you then have a plank, and that would have been most likely the material that would have arrived on site would have been a plank or balk or any kind of square material that would have been squared out of a round tree trunk. And after that, then joiners and carpenters would have taken over from that section and then moved that further down the line of work that needed to be done to this piece of wood. I would say in the mid-18th century, Ireland was more than capable to produce their own craftspeople and actually produce this kind of work with the native labor around. I mean, there's plenty of examples in Dublin as well where very high quality joinery and also stonework, everything was done, and that was done by local craftspeople. Of course, there was always an influx of international or European craftspeople. There was this very, very active cross-fertilization, you could almost call it, among craftspeople, because this whole system of a journeyman is that these men were having a journey on developing their own skills. So within Europe, on the continent, there would have been a lot of craftspeople traveling all over the place to learn somewhere else. It was a part of your training. So therefore, logically, people would come to Dublin as well, especially with prestigious projects like this, and there's plenty others. So there would have been enough work, they would have had access to very good materials, and it was well documented that Dublin was also an import harbour for mahogany, together with Bristol and London. So they would have access to top quality materials, and with that comes top quality craftsmen, and on top of it, of course, people that had the money and the wealth and the vision and the architects to actually design and plan all of this. So I think that it was just a natural reaction that if projects are happening somewhere, that people would actually be attracted to it, and local craftsmen would have been very well capable of doing this. We use digital technology all the time, even if I regard myself as a very traditional person, but I just see it as another tool. And if I can find another tool that does the job better, to more accuracy and a better speed, then I would totally adopt that. And it doesn't matter if it's in digital or a hammer. So we do a lot of 3D scanning. It's a fantastic way of documenting three-dimensional objects, much better than any measuring tape can ever do. Especially if we want to, in the long term, preserve these houses and objects. It's, I think, really important to document its exact shape. And very often when you actually go to that kind of detail, you discover things like, for example, how are things constructed? I mean, you could, of course, scan this door frame, but you still don't know what's happening inside. So once in that process, very often I would actually take things apart and actually have a really thorough look at how it's constructed. And out of that, you can make very nice three-dimensional exploded views. You can have a virtual movement of all the parts coming together to actually form the object, which helps me to understand the intricacies and the details of construction, but also for the layperson just to understand the complexity. And it's not just a couple of sticks glued together, but there could be maybe 60 or 70 components in this door frame. And by using digital technology, you can make that actually much more accessible and give people a much better understanding about the work we do as craftspeople.